Namaskar. I, Shambhavi, welcome you all to your channel Galactic Echoes. So let's start exploring the wisdom of Vedic astrology. So today we'll be dealing with the 11th lord placed in a particular house in your D1 chart, but I'll be telling you some important and new perspective about the 11th house, and you should be watching the introduction part because it will be giving you new insights and how to decode your 11th house, your gains, your rewards in a more meaningful way. So do not skip the introduction part. So let's start the video and let's dive in. So if I have to tell you about the 11th house, what is the 11th house? First of all, we have some major points about the 11th house, that it is a Upacha Bhav. It is ruled by Saturn in a Kalpurusha Kundali, and it is co-ruled by Rahu also because the Aquarius sign falls there. The sign which is falling in the 11th house is the Mool Trikona sign of Saturn. So Saturn's dominance is there very much in the 11th house. Now if you look at from a more unique perspective, what you will see is that the 11th house is 7 places, 7 houses away, directly opposite to the 5th house. Now what is the 5th house? 5th house is speculation, trading, intelligence, creative arts, performing arts and all of these things. Basically it is the domain of Sun. Opposite to that is the 11th house, which is of Saturn. The Mool Trikona sign of the Saturn, Aquarius falls there. So basically both the working of the 5th and the 11th house is in complete contrast, because they are working in opposite terms, in opposite ways, in opposite approaches. So for example, if 5th house is speculation, speculation is what? You are predicting something to get gain out of it. The 11th house is a more definite way of getting your gains, your rewards. So that is why the constant money flow is something which is seen from the 11th house, from the 11th lord, because you are expecting it at the end of the month. That is what 11th house represents. 5th house is a Lakshmi Sthan, it is a Trikona Bhav, and the 11th house is a Upacha Bhav. It grows better with time. 3rd, 6th, 10th and 11th house, they all are the Upacha Bhav, and they have this tendency of getting better with time. So as you will age, as you will move towards your mid 30s, mid 40s, mid 50s, the 11th house, the 10th house and all of the 3rd and 6th house will become more better, and you will be able to absorb the energies better in the later years of your life. The other thing is that if you see that the 11th house is 6th from the 6th house, so 6 places away from the 6th house, so it represents that it is having enhanced energy of the 6th house. So if I have to tell you in a very, this is a very unique fact, and it's a very interesting fact, that the 11th house is the greatest of all the Upacha Bhav. Why? Because if you see, the 3rd from the 3rd is the 5th house, and 5th house is not a Upacha Bhav. The 6th from the 6th is the 11th house, which is the Upacha Bhav. The 11th from the 11th is your this particularly 9th house, which is again not a Upacha Bhav, and the 10th from the 10th is the 7th house, which again is not a Upacha Bhav. So the only house which is carrying this Upacha energy solely is the 11th house. So 11th house is, and this is something also which I must tell you here, that all the Upacha Bhav in your chart, they are having some kind of a free will. If your chart is not locked by the revered axis of Rahu Ketu, then there is this complete free will which you can act upon in your life concerning to these Upacha Bhav. So the 11th house is having enhanced energy of the 6th house, enhanced energy of the Upacha Bhav or Upacha systems in our life. So what it represents is that the 6th house is your enemy, the 11th house is your friend. Why? Because it is 6 from 6. So it is enemy's enemy. Enemy's enemy is our friend, right? So that is why we see social circles and friends from the 11th house. It can also be representing big enemies in your life if your 6th lord, if your 6th house is not well placed. So this is a subjective kind of a result which you will see in your chart. The other thing is that it is the debt of the debt. What does it represent is that the debt is seen from the 6th house, and it is the debt of the debt of the debt is the 11th house, the enhanced energy of the debt. So I don't know, I just remember the lines. I don't know who has said this particularly. There are 2 kinds of people in the world, one who understand compound interest and the other who do not. And the people who understand the compound interest, they earn from it, and the other who do not understand the compound interest, they give it away, their money into the compounding interest to someone. This is the exactly kind of position which I am talking about. The 6th, from the 6th is the 11th house. So there are two ways to make money, your gains. The first is that you earn so much and you give your away, like give away to your liabilities and your, you know, all the commitments you have made, your debts, so that you can live your life happily. So basically you'll have to earn more than the 6th house so that you can, you know, balance those cash flow in your life. The other thing is, the second thing is that you can manage the financial literacy is so much high in yourself that you are managing your wealth in such a way that you are getting gains also from some of the areas in your life where you are working, and you are multiplying that money. You see, this is what it represents, that you are giving your money as a debt to someone and you are earning from interest. This is what is represented from the 11th house. That is why it is the Upachubhav, and it is the representative of her gains, of her rewards, her hopes and wishes. So astrology, so Jyotish, here it gives us this particular fact that your hopes, wishes and desires should only be completed when you are able to multiply your money. If you are not able to multiply it, your hopes and desires and wishes should not be completed, because then you'll have to focus on your needs and rather than your wants. So this is what it represents. Basically, it also gives us a kind of a lesson, very important lesson about financial literacy, how to manage our money, how to manage our resources, and how to extract gains and rewards in our life. So this is the whole, you know, this is the crux of the 11th house, if I have to put it that way. There are numerous layers for this particular 11th house, but we'll be covering it in the subsequent videos, so you should stay tuned for that. But in today's video, we'll be discussing how the placement of the 11th lord in a particular house will help you to fetch the gains. What are the do's and what are the don'ts in order to procure the maximum potential of the gains or rewards which are they are present in your D1 chart in your life. So what are the things you should definitely do and what are the things you should definitely avoid to maximize your cash flow or your gains, your rewards, to manifest your hopes and desires and wishes, and what are the things you should avoid. So this is the particular theme of the video for today, based on the 11th lord placed in a particular house. I'll also be covering many more themes about the 11th lord placed in a particular house, but in the subsequent videos. So for that, please stay tuned and let's dive in to the particular house positions. So when you have your 11th lord placed in the first house of your D1 chart, what you will see is that the first thing is that your presence in your social circle and your communication with them is very important. Like you will see in your life, whenever you will connect with your friends, whenever you will go and have fun and hang out with them, that is when you will hear some kind of a good news from your professional front, or in some way it will be fetching you gains in your life. The other thing is that with this particular placement, appearance is something which really matters. So what is the kind of appearance you should be invested in? You should remain invested in some kind of whatever your particular field requires. That if you are in a corporate setting, be well dressed, and you should have that particular formals and ironed completely, that sort of a thing. You should not go at your personal, basically your workplace also, and even when you are hanging out with your friends, in a messed up state. Basically, your appearance, it really matters. As you will invest your money in your own health, in your own mental health, in your own physical appearance, your gains would start to multiply. They would be increasing. The other thing is that when 11th lord is placed in the first house, what you will see is that being informed about whatever is happening at your workplace, and in whatever profession you are, you have to be actually well informed about whatever the new things are there prevalent in your field, what is the new technology coming in, what was the history of your field. This is very important. And the conversations you will be involving in with your co-workers or with your friends even, it should be very information seeking or information loaded. You should be sharing some information with them, and you should also get some kind of information in reciprocation. That is very important, because if you would waste your time in gossiping or something like that, that would not fetch you gains, or that would actually decrease your gains. The other thing is being a recluse or being withdrawn from your social circle or from your co-workers, or not engage with them in a friendly way, is something which would bring you losses in your gains, in your rewards. So it is very important for you to have a kind of a particular connection with your whatever your friends are, who like your co-workers, and intermingle with the people you are with, like in that maximum portion of your time. Even your family members also, you should be engaged in their life. That is very important. And like you should represent yourself a courageous soldier, because if you would be representing yourself as a recluse or as a withdrawn person, and if this kind of an energy or vibe is something which you are projecting to the others, then it would harm your gains. So the only way you can actually get yourself more on the right track for your rewards, for your gains, is to be well dressed first of all, and invest on your mental health, on your physical health, be with your friends, and your presence should be in their personal lives as well, your friends or your co-workers or your family members. It should not be only a formal kind of a relation, which is something which I am suggesting here. Moreover, actually all of these things, I must make a separate video on the profession, how to decode the profession from the 11th lord placed in a particular house. But basically appearance matters a lot. So maybe you can be in some kind of a profession where the appearance matters a lot, or appearance is something which is really invested in, and which is something as a this foundation of the career, of the whole field. This is something which represents that you are working with the karakas of Mars, you are working with the karakas of energy, representation, physique, and all of these things. Basically you are working with Lagna, the theme of Lagna. Lagna, what is the Lagna? This is the first house, and first house is a human being, the birth of a human. So there are so many careers you can see from this particular statement, and how they are manifesting will depend on the 11th lord, the sign, your rising, and your rising nakshatra, your rising sign, and all of these things will matter a lot. But basically appearance and being invested in conversation with your colleagues, with your all the people you intermingle with is very, very important. And that too, it should not be gossiping or talking aimlessly. It should be information focused, that even if you are conversing them on a very casual note, but you are conversing about some kind of a technology which is coming, which is new age in your particular field, or they are telling you something about their field or something like that. You see, this is something which is very important. And if you are not very well invested in the information or in the data of your particular field, you should be doing it as a remedy. The more you will read about what has been your field has been through, its history, its future, and the big people, their opinion, and all the big personalities related to your field, that would something fetch you gains, and it is a kind of a remedy which would really work amazingly in for your 11th house to grow better with time. And for this particular placement, you should check the placement of Mars, wherever it is sitting, in whatever sign. Actually, wherever the Mars is sitting, you should have at least that kind of people, maybe 2 or 3 in your social circle. So for example, if your Mars is sitting in the sign of Cancer, so you should have teachers in your social circle. Or if your Mars is sitting in the sign of Libra, you should have lawyers, maybe 2 or 3 as your friends, or as your co-workers, or as your professional mates. Maybe you connected with them because of some professional work, but you are still friends, like that. So wherever the Mars is sitting, in whatever sign, it really becomes important to have at least a person from, coming from that particular field for your gains to get better with time. So this is how you decode the placement of the 11th lord in the first house. Let's move forward. Let's understand the placement of the 11th lord in the second house. Now when you have your 11th lord placed in the second house of your D1 chart, what you will see is that first of all, you will have to maintain a good speech at your work front. So however, the way you speak and the way you converse with people is really very important, and actually that is the basis, that is the foundation of your gains, of your rewards. So this can also be a placement of singers, and the second house is something of a singing related house, and when your 11th lord is placed there, it represents that somehow through speech, through speaking, you are making connections or you are gaining your wealth out of it. The second thing is that the speech, if you are a trader or a businessman with this particular position, the way you speak and connect with people is very important. Making connections is very important. Whatever are the people at your work front, in your social circle, you should be emotionally invested with them. It is very important, because if you are not emotionally invested with them, somehow they will lose trust on you, and that would backfire in the long run. So if you are having some kind of people whom you feel that they are the core group of your work front and of your social circle, you should be emotionally invested in them. Talk to them on regular basis and ask them if they have any problem or if you can be of any help or something like that. And emotional investing in your social circle specifically is very, very important with this particular placement. The other thing is that women in your social circle, and if you have women in your social circle, if your Venus is very well placed, you do not have to disrespect them ever. This is very important, because if you will disrespect them, somehow it would backfire and you would see that somehow your projects and your work is not taking place, and they are having this particular the decrease in your gains, something which you might face with this particular doing of yours or with this particular action of yours. The other thing is that when you have the 11th lord placed in the second house, it is very important for you to whatever you gain, like you, first of all, the first thing is that actually you should have 2 bank accounts basically. The first bank account should be where your gains are coming in, the regular gains, and you are spending from that particular account, and the second bank account should be the account where you are saving your money, and there should be a fixed amount which you should be taking out from your particular gains every month and putting it in that bank account. That is very important, and you might open a RD or an FD from that, or you might do some investments from that bank account further, but it is very important for you to make that transaction every month. So it can be very minimal, it can be a maybe a $2 thing, maybe it is 200 rupees or something like that, 500 rupees every month, but there should be a fixed amount which you should be drawing out, which you should be taking out from your gains, from your salary account, and you should be putting in that particular saving accounts of yours where you are only doing investments from. You are not spending from that bank account. This is very important. It is kind of a remedy which I am telling you here, and you will see a sharp rise in your gains, in your rewards after this particular thing, if you will do it straight for 5 to 6 months basically. The other thing with this particular placement is that I've told you about your social circle, which you should take them into your trust, and you should be treating them like a family. This is very important. You should be there for them, and you should be with them every time they need you. This is really very important, and you should make sure that they are not losing their trust in your abilities. Even if you are not a superior, you see, you are a junior, but your superior is having this kind of a blind trust on you. This is very important. Even if you are not the the alpha in the group, but your group, your friend are the people, they are completely trusting you. that he is the person or she is the person we can blindly trust on, because they will never betray us. This is a kind of feeling you should be working towards in whatever groups you intermingle, in whatever networking you are going in, because 11th house is also the house of networking. You see, you conversing with, you intermingling with people. So it is very, very important for you to have this particular focus in your life related to your colleagues, your co-workers and your social circle. The moment actually the people would lose trust on you, or they'll mistrust you, or they will think that I should not tell my misery or my problems to this particular person because they won't be able to solve it. Then is when your gains would be affected with this kind of a thinking of your friends or of your co-workers. So it is very important for you to have that family kind of an environment, to maintain that family kind of an environment in whatever groups, in whatever networking you intermingle in. And the placement of Venus is very important in your chart. Check whether the Venus is placed in what sign, in what nakshatra, all of the traits, and this Venus will actually tell you in deeper ways what are the areas you should be focusing in your life to multiply your gains, to have this particular rewards, and so that you can lead a comfortable life. Actually, gains are not always monetary. Whatever things you want, it can also be spiritual kind of a desire which you have, because desires is something which is creating the birth of the human on this planet Earth. So whatever desires you have, whatever goals you have, whatever wishes you have, are to be completed in this birth. And if you have to complete it, these are the remedies which I have told you. Check the placement of the Venus, it will tell you a lot in detail. This is how you decode the placement of the 11th lord in the second house. Let's move forward and let's understand the placement of the 11th lord in third house. Now when you have 11th lord placed in the third house of your D1 chart, what you will see is, the first thing is that for your gains to blossom, for your rewards to be there present for you, and you achieving all the rewards and recognition in your life, it is very important for you to maintain a good relationship with your younger siblings, with your friends, close friends, and with all the people who are exhibiting Mercurian traits in your social circle. So they are humorous, they are young, and basically they are younger than you, or they are having this kind of a particular disposition like Mercury. They're calculative, they're precise, and all of the things. So this is very important for you. The other thing is that your courage and your effort will be very important with this particular placement. The other thing is that you will have to be very precise in your calculations, whatever you do. Like this is actually the placement where whenever there is this risk looming on your particular group, be it your co-workers or be it your friends group, you are the person who is calculating all the pros and cons of the situation, and you are the person chalking out the plan of action, and they are the people who will be acting upon it. You see, so this is something of a kind of a representation you should be putting of yourself in front of them, that I am the strategist, I will be chalking out the plan, I will be giving you the plan, and you are the people, you will have to act upon it. I am also courageous, I will also be putting in my efforts into this particular task we are here to complete. But the thing is that I am the strategist, and I will be the one making decisions, the important decisions in a risky situation. This is what it represents. The other thing is that the trust is very important. If you have this kind of a trust of your colleagues, of your co-workers, of your friends, your close friends, that whatever you do, they act upon it completely, and they think that yes, this is the correct thing. I am not suggesting advising here, because advising is something not seen from the third house. It is the strategic plan which you will have to be putting your efforts in, so that you get a kind of a desired result. This is how your gains would be coming in your life, and it would be ever increasing with this particular placement. The 11th lord when placed in the third house, it represents also this kind of a thing that you have a free will in your life. If you are putting in ample amount of efforts, if you are showing ample amount of courage at the times when it is needed, you will see yourself growing in life. You will see yourself your gains, your rewards multiplying with time slowly. This is what this position represents. Moreover, it is very important for you to check the position of the Sun and the Mars. If they are, in what kind of a combination they are sitting in your chart. Are they making 6-8 axis, or are they making 4-10 axis, or are they in conjunction in your chart? What is their relation towards each other? There is where the gains are hidden in your particular chart. So if let's say your Sun is placed in the first house and your Mars is placed in the fourth house in any sign, let's say Sun is exalted in the first house and the Mars is debilitated in the fourth house, so it represents that somewhere your traditional roots, and you calculating on that, you calculating the decisions of the authority in your life, you getting some kind of an authority in your life or something like that, maybe a government job or something like that, and connecting it with the tradition you have been born in will fetch you gains. So basically what it shows is that even if you are getting a government job, you should be the one living near your birthplace. This is something which it represents. Maybe the government job, if it tells, if it is the kind of a government job which the home posting is not available in that particular job profile, what you should be doing is that you should try to be living near your home. This is a kind of representation. Why? Because the Sun and the Mars are making the 4-10 axis and they are connecting your traditional roots to your work front, 10 your career, and your mother and your career, so in your stability and your career. So you should be looking towards the stable career choices in your life. This is also very important with this particular placement. So this is a kind of an example. You should be looking in towards the axis of the Sun and Mars in your chart, how they are acting, their position, what is the something which they are suggesting in your chart, and it will give you better insights about your 11th house, about your gains and rewards in life. Let's move forward. Let's understand the placement of the 11th Lord in the 4th house of your D1 chart. When you have your 11th Lord placed in the 4th house of your D1 chart, what you will see is the first thing is that tradition, roots, your teachings, your basically childhood teachings and your teachings from your mother and your gurus or mentors early in childhood are very important. And how are they important? Like, this is the basic theme for your rewards and your recognition and your gains. Now, what is the theme which would unravel here? There are two facets to it, if I have to be telling you. The first is that either you perfect what has been taught to you by your mother or by your parents or by your teachers in your childhood, or there is the second way that you criticize it and you scrutinize it and you make it perfect according to your own needs. So either of the way you will have to approach this particular thing. So all of these things, they will be implemented on your very micro habits. Basically, if you have this particular habit since your childhood, your parents taught you, your mother taught you that you should wake up early morning. So either you practice it so well that you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning without an alarm clock, that you perfect it and you master that particular skill, or you scrutinize it, you criticize it and you make it perfect according to your need. So you do not follow it all along, you do not go for that particular teaching. What you do is that you are completely doing it reverse, that you are sleeping at 5 a.m. If your job allows it and if your work profile demands it, this is actually something which I am trying to suggest here, that whatever the teachings and the childhood learnings are there in your life, they are the source of your gains, they are the source of your rewards, like multiplying your gains and rewards and fulfilling your wishes and desires in your life. Now you will have to decode it according to your particular D1 chart, what is happening in that. The other thing is that regularity in connection with your mother, with your social circle and your childhood friends becomes very important with this particular position. You should be doing this video call with them in a scheduled time, that you call your mother every Friday and you call your friends every Sunday. This is something kind of a thing you should be following, like you are conversing, engaging with them on regular intervals. This is very important. You cannot be withdrawn from your mother, you cannot be withdrawn from your social circle, your childhood friends. It is very important. Even if there is only one friend from your childhood who is with you still, that is all right, and he or she should be the person you should be heavily invested in, like invested in as if that you are investing your time with them, you are going out eating with them or something like that, you are going out to spend some time with them. This is very important for your gains, for your 11th house, basically for your 11th lord actually. The other thing is that with this particular placement, if your 9th house is not compromised and the 11th lord is not sitting with a functional malefic in your D1 chart, or it is not aspected by a functional malefic in your chart, or if your 9th lord is not aspected or in conjunction with a functional malefic in your chart and your 9th house is not compromised, then this position is really a very good one. If you follow the things which I have told you, if you go with this particular approach in your life, that you are conversing with your mother on daily basis or something like that, even if you are not following her teaching, even if you are doing something totally opposite to what she have told you, what she have taught you in your childhood, then also you love your mother, and then also you are conversing with her on daily basis, on daily terms. Like if you are doing all of these things, and if the functional malefic is not involved, 9th house is not compromised, this can be really a very promising placement actually of the 11th lord in the 4th house, because the 11th house is Upachya Bhav, the 4th house is the very raw energy of the Moksha Trikona. So you see, so the 4th house is where the Jupiter gets exalted, and Jupiter is the Karaka of wealth, and here we are talking about gains and all of these things in a 11th with the 11th lord. So 11th lord is in itself carrying the essence of gains and monetary gains, wealth specifically. So if the things I have told you are well placed in your chart and there are these particular positions, combinations happening in your D1 chart, then it is really a very promised placement. If you consistently do the things which I have told you, if you are consistently with your friends and with your mother on talking terms, and you are invested in them, you are investing your time in them, so you will see definitely your gains, your rewards slowly but steadily growing with each year. So this is how you decode the 11th lord placed in the 4th house of your D1 chart. Let's move forward and let's understand the 11th lord placed in the 5th house of your D1 chart. Now when you have your 11th lord placed in the 5th house of your D1 chart, the first thing which is very important in your social circle, which you should maintain with your elder siblings as well, that you should have a kind of a diplomatic nature with them. Do not blindly believe what they are telling you. Have a neutral kind of an approach. Whatever the things are manifesting in your life from their side, you should have a neutral kind of a relationship in your social circle, that you are not completely supporting this particular friend, and you are also not completely supporting the particular that friend who are not liking each other, like they are not on good terms. This is a kind of a diplomatic nature which you should be having in your social circle, even with your co-workers or colleagues at some points in your life. The other thing is that this is actually a placement, 5th house is also a house of Purva Punya. So gains, rewards and all of these things are completely channelized from ancestral blessings. So if you have ancestral blessings, there would be gains and rewards. If not, then you will have to do hard work and you will have to put in much effort. The effort would be greater and the reward might be lower in comparison to the efforts you are putting in. This is something which is seen. The other thing is that ancestral blessing, as I have told you, the 5th house is also the house of your paternal grandfather. So the simplest way to decode this particular placement is that whatever was the pattern of income, of rewards, of wealth in your paternal grandfather's life, you will have to imitate exactly the same. If he had done mistakes and you know about them, you have to learn from it, because the same kind of pattern will be repeating in your life. You see, this is your 11th lord is something which is trying to tell you that whatever your paternal grandfather did, if it was good, you should be following it. If it was bad, you should be learning from it. This is something very important. The other thing is that with the 11th lord in the 5th house, a kind of a desire, hope and wishes, they are enhanced very much with this particular placement. That I am not telling you that you are desiring an iPhone, like the latest iPhone. This is not the thing which I am suggesting here. But whatever you will desire, it is as simple as a needle, but you will desire it with utmost dedication. You see, this is what it represents, that whatever you will desire, you will really long for that particular thing from within. This is something which is seen when 11th lord is placed in the 5th house, and this is the position which is maximizing, which is multiplying, which is enhancing your desires, your wishes, your hopes in the strength, not in quantity or quality or wealth wise. This is what it represents. The other thing is that this can also mean that you can be benefited from the central government of whatever country you are residing in. So let's say if you are residing in India and you can get a central government job with this particular placement, if specifically you are an Aries ascendant or something like that. And the other thing would be that you can also partner with the government for its project on contract basis. So even if you are in commission work, in a commission based work or something like that, the presence of the central government is something which would be seen in your life. Or if you are living in a country where there is this particular royalty which is existing, maybe in Britain or something like that, you would see that the people from the great order, you are working for them, or you are benefiting from them somehow. Your gains are coming from them, maybe indirectly or something like that. Maybe you are working on contract basis for their work of some kind on some government project, or you can also be in a government job with this particular placement. The other thing which I should tell you, it is very important about trading, because 5th house is also the house of speculation. When 11th lord is placed in the 5th house, people, they assume that it is very good for us to do trading. It can be actually, if specifically your Ketu is placed in the sign of Taurus in the 5th house. This is the only position which can tell you about the trading or speculation games. But you should remember it, that even if it is any other planet, maybe Saturn, if Saturn is placed in your 5th house, this is something very important, that you should never be doing trading in your life. If you are doing trading, you should be invested in for long period of time. So you are invested in mutual funds or something like that because of investment purposes, not from gaining purposes. This is very important. 8th house becomes very important. 8th lord becomes very important. That is why I told you trading is a very subjective thing with this particular placement. If your 8th lord is very well placed, if your 8th house is very well disposed, then you can think of trading. Otherwise, if Saturn is placed in the 5th house, it is your 11th lord, do not think of trading. If Ketu is placed in the Taurus signs, basically if you are a Capri rising in your D1 chart and you have Ketu placed in the 5th house of your D1, then only you can think of speculation or trading as a career choice. Otherwise, if Saturn is placed in your 5th house as the 11th lord, you cannot do it. You should not think of it. And with trading, I mean intraday trading, that you are invested for the shorter periods of time. This is particularly not seen with the 11th lord placed directly in the 5th house. There should be other indications as well in the chart. So this is how you decode the 11th lord placed in the 5th house of your D1 chart. Let's move forward. Let's understand the placement of the 11th lord in the 6th house of your D1 chart. So when you have your 11th lord placed in the 6th house of your D1 chart, the first and the foremost thing with this particular placement is that whatever gains are there in your life, whatever rewards are there in your life, in order to grow them, in order to multiply them, you should keep them hidden. They should not be out in public, that whatever you are earning as a salaried person also, you should not be disclosing it to everyone. Maybe your parents know it and your spouse is knowing it. Other than them, no one is knowing about the particular earnings. The other thing with this particular placement is that whatever the gains you will have, whatever the rewards and cash flow you will have in your life, it would directly represent on your face and your personality. So people would think that yes, he's earning or she's earning well, but somehow we don't know what is the exact amount, but they are earning well. Why? Because it is manifesting in your personality, on your face, and on your well-being actually. So it is really a very good placement of the 11th lord in the 6th house, as long as you keep everything hidden. Your social circle should also be very hidden actually. Families, I have seen that who are the friends of this particular person, everyone is knowing them, and there is this particular meeting and greeting of people in and out of the relatives home. This is something which should not be done from your side. Your social circle should only be limited to your own house or to your own presence. Other than that, there should not be the presence of your social circle in your relatives home, in the lives of your family members, other family members apart from parents and spouse. This is something very important. The other thing is that, and you people having 11th lord in the 6th house is somewhat unrelated, but you get better and you get young with time. This is a kind of a reverse aging, which people will be saying to you. They'll be telling you that you are getting younger with your age, you are growing old very gracefully. This is something which is a compliment which will be given to you, and which will be given to you very often in your life. The other thing is that you should be doing regular investments. It is very important with this particular placement that whatever you are invested in, like maybe FDs or RDs or mutual funds, whatever your investment schemes are, whatever you think is the investment, even if you are saving up for some particular goal, that should be very regular in your life. You should be investing in particular goals in your life in a very systematic manner, in a very organized manner with this particular placement. The other thing is that debt is very, very important in your life. Like, I'm not telling you to take debt. Management of debt is very important. You should be managing it very wisely. You should be managing even your credit cards very wisely with this particular placement. That the less you take the debt, the better it is. This is something of importance in your chart which is being portrayed. 11th lord in the 6th house. The other thing is that cousins, your maternal relatives, your enemies, and people who you think are not your well-wishers, they should not be knowing about your profession and about your gains in depth. That is very important. Basically these are the people you should be hiding your gains and your rewards from. Especially if you are not in any kind of 6th house related profession. So you are not a healer, you are not a doctor, you are not a lawyer, you are not in any kind of service or job for the government or something like that, or for a big company. If you are not in that kind of a setting professionally, if you are in a commission based work, or if you are a businessman or a businesswoman, or if you are an entrepreneur, you should not be telling how things are happening and taking place at your professional front, and how you are earning, what are your exact gains. These are the people, the 6th house people, you should be completely hiding your gains from. Your cousins, your maternal relatives, and your enemies. If you will project everything to them, there is where this placement can backfire and affecting your rewards, your particularly 11th house, in a bad manner. This is very important. So if you are in a 6th house profession, then that is well and good, but if you are not, then you should be very careful of the 6th house, of debt also, of enemies also, of diseases also with this particular placement, because you can see yourself giving away a lot of your money on monthly basis to diseases or something like that, or maybe even if it's a normal cough and cold. That's why you are not in a daily routine. That is what it represents. So you should be focusing on the positive karakas of the 6th house. Otherwise your gains, your rewards would be going in, you'll have to spend your gains, your rewards into the negative karakas of the 6th house. This is how you decode the placement of the 11th lord in the 6th house. Let's move forward and let's understand the placement of the 11th lord in the 7th house of your D1 chart. Now when you have your 11th lord placed in the 7th house of your D1 chart, the first thing which you will see is that the marriage, and whenever you'll make an alliance or whenever you'll enter into any kind of legal partnership, it will bring you luck. It will also bring gains to you. The other thing is that whatever alliances you make, even the marriage and the decision of marrying someone is very wise. You do not sway in emotions, or that the romantic angle in the life leading to marriage is very, like, it is very least present. Basically what we see is with this particular placement, that because of the fact that you are wise enough to understand that the marriage is a responsibility, and I cannot go with someone, I cannot be someone's partner if I cannot fulfill the responsibility and if they are not able to fulfill the responsibility of the marriage. So that is why gains and betterment of the life through marriage is very necessary, which is your mindset, which is your understanding about this particular thing, and it also usually happens. So whoever you will marry with, that person would bring gains in your life. So specifically it shows that either they will be coming in from a wealthy family, from an affluent family, or they would be very professionally stable in their life before marrying you. The other thing is that this placement also suggests that you take risk, like so many risks in your life, in order to get wealth, in order to get your gains, rewards and recognition in life. And if you will also feel that all of the times the luck is by your side, somehow the universe is helping you out. And why the universe is helping you out? Because you are aligning with the gurus, mentors, teachers, your bosses and their teachings. So this is the basic remedy of this particular placement of the 11th lord in the 7th house. If you have this, the most important thing in your life, which will be there always, that you should never ever go against the advice, the suggestions and the teachings of your guru, mentor, bosses, father, or your any person coming from the 9th house in your chart. So 9th house, if the 9th house is having Saturn placed in your chart, so the advices or some suggestions given from the people who are older in age or who are your servants, these are the people who you should really believe in. Their advice or their suggestion would somehow benefit you in your life. Sometimes the position of the 11th lord in the 7th house also suggests that why you are taking risk. You are taking risk because you are trying to shorten the efforts, the amount of efforts that you have to put from your side into this particular task. But if your Rahu is not very well placed, you should not be taking this particular road or this particular approach in your life. It would be better for you to take the more hard work kind of a theme or kind of an approach if you are doing, if you are trying to achieve something, if you are trying to achieve any target in your life. So basically what I am trying to say here is that risk taking is something which is suggested with this particular placement, but if your Rahu is not well placed, you should not be taking risks in your life. If your Saturn is very well placed in the D1 chart, you should be doing everything according to your Purusharth, with your efforts, and whatever your efforts, your parakram, your courage allows you to do in your capability, you should be doing it with that manner only. Do not see for the shortcuts. If the Saturn is very well placed, if Rahu is very well placed, you can see for the shortcuts, you can think out of the box, you can think innovative ways to achieve your target or something like that. But this is a kind of a paradox which you will have to judge by yourself, looking at your chart and which energies are more prevalent in the chart in the D1. So basically this is a very good placement, and it can manifest as a very good placement if your Mars and Jupiter are well placed beside the Saturn and Rahu. The Saturn Rahu's placement is more towards the approach, which kind of approach is to be taken, the hard work road or the shortcut road. But if your Mars and Jupiter are very well placed, whatever theme or whatever approach you will take, it would manifest positively in your D1 chart. So basically Mars and Jupiter's debilitation is not something which is compromising their dignity. There are more layers to it. Check their position in the D9, in the D1, in what nakshatra they are sitting, their dispositors and everything, and the Ashtavara table also. All of these things will tell you what kind of results you might expect, like the gains and the rewards. What is your capability? How much capability is present in this birth of yours to gain something, to achieve something? You see, this is what is being decided by the Mars and Jupiter in your particular chart, irrespective of whatever your 11th lord is. So let's move forward and let's understand the placement of the 11th lord in the 8th house of your D1 chart. Now when you have your 11th lord placed in the 8th house of your D1 chart, so first of all I must tell you this particular thing, that it is in the classical text it has been written that this is the Daridra Yog. Why? Because your gains are being dissolved in the 8th house. But in today's scenario, this is not something which is prevalent. Why? We'll try to understand it. Because 8th house in today's world is very important. If you see that your 11th lord is placed in the 8th house, so basically there is a kind of transformation which is necessary for your gains, for your rewards. But the transformation cannot be completely into totally a different thing. This is what the Daridra Yoga comes from. You see, basically classical texts here are trying to make us understand that if you are doing something, for example, if you are an IT professional and you are, you have been working in this industry since 15 years and now you are thinking of shifting into some totally another business. Maybe you are thinking of starting a food business. That is something which would bring you dissatisfaction or it would badly affect your gains. You see, the transformation will be present, but it cannot be happening in a totally different scenario or a field. So basically, if you are an RT professional, the only thing which you can do with this particular placement of the 11th lord in the 8th house is that you should be getting into some kind of a business which is IT related. This is how you will be able to mitigate the Daridra Yoga present in your chart. And the transformation is actually very necessary in order for you to grow. And as I have said, the transformation should be field specific only. You cannot switch to different fields with this particular placement. Anytime you will try to do this, you would see problems in your life actually. You see, this is the classical text trying to make us understand, because the 8th house at the transformative energy was not very much desired in the previous times, in the Satyug or in the Dwapar Yuga, but in the Kali Yuga, transformation is everything. You see, we use makeup to transform our face so that we look more presentable. We renovate our homes so that when we come back from our office, from our work, we find it more soothing and comfortable. So transformation is very important because the 8th house, the Scorpio sign, is co-ruled by Ketu, and the Kali Yuga is actually very much ruled by Rahu and Ketu, the axis. So 8th house has become very important in today's world. So the thing is that your profession, whatever you are doing in your career front and in your life also, transformation should be there, but it should not be a drastic transformation as long as this particular 11th lord is not conjunct with Rahu. If it is sitting with benefic planets like Venus, Moon or Mercury, then the transformation should be there, but it should not be that drastic. But if Rahu is sitting there with this particular planet, the 11th lord, you can expect a drastic transformation as well. And that transformation is something which is not in your hands, because the Rahu and Ketu axis, they do not work in a methodical approach. That these are the set systems and they'll be working in these particular brackets. This is not something which we see. So when Rahu is present, you do not have anything in your hands. They are their transits, their periods, their antardashas, their mahadashas will be running, and you would be going through the major transformations in your life which would be benefiting you. And how to make these transformations benefit? The only remedy to do this thing is that you should be very much invested in your social circle. This is very important. Like, as much as you will have your social media presence, as much as you will be intermingling with people, like on the social front, this is the only remedy to make the transformation into the positive side, to push the transformation into the positive side. As many people you will meet every day is like every meet and greet with a person is making your transformation into, it's pushing your transformation into the positive side. So the 11th house, your elder siblings, they are also very important with this particular placement. Because why? The 11th lord has traveled 10 houses away from the 11th house. So basically the 11th house, the karma of the 11th house is in the 8th house. So that is why your karma towards your 11th house, basically your elder siblings, your social circle, your gains and rewards are channelized from those people. So if you are not on good terms with your elder sibling, you will face problems in your life. related to monetary gains, rewards, and completing your desires, hopes and wishes. If you do not have a good social circle, good social media presence, you will face problems in all the areas related to the 11th house in your life. If you do not have good relations with your firstborn child, then is also you will face problems in your gains, rewards, completing your hopes, wishes and desires. So the only way to make this transformation positive is to make your 11th house as healthy as possible. Even if there are 2 or 3 people, you see, I am not telling you to make a large group. You should have a social media presence. Maybe you have only 50 friends and your account is private also, that is also enough. But you should be involved with people. You should be involved with your elder siblings. You should be there in the 11th house. You should be involved in the life of your firstborn child. This is very important. And if you will do all these things, the transformation would be present. And if you go through that positive transformation in your life very wisely, then you will see that somehow you are able to complete all the hopes and wishes in your desires which you want. Basically, you see, the needs are fulfilled in your life and you are also able to fulfill your desires also. So that is a kind of a blessing which you are, this is a kind of a Shrapit Yog which has been written in the classical text, and you through your own karma is turning it into a blessing. So this is how we decode this particular Daridra Yoga, as it has been told in the Daridra means poverty yoga, as it has been told in the classical text. But because we have to decode the classical text and so many definitions, they have changed with time. Jyotish is a evolving science and we cannot completely rely on the shlokas or the definitions as they are written. We have to decode them according to our times. So this is how you decode the placement of the 11th lord in the 8th house. If your 11th lord, specifically if you are an Aries rising or if you are an Pisces rising, it is a very good placement of the Saturn in the 8th house, and it will, with your hard work, with your dedication and your patience, would give you all the luxuries, and your 11th house would really blossom slowly and steadily. So this is how you decode the 11th lord placed in the 8th house of your D1 chart. Let's move forward and let's understand the placement of the 11th lord in the 9th house. Now when you have 11th lord placed in the 9th house of your D1 chart, what you will see is that the first and the foremost thing is that this is a very good placement and you are really very lucky if you do your work very patiently, consistently and with hard work. This is a placement which requires Saturnish traits in you so that you can achieve really great things in your life. Your marriage will also be very gainful in your life. Like your marriage would be happy and it would be bringing a lot of this wealth or positivity in your life apart from the wealth. Basically the thing is that if your 7th lord, if your 7th house is not compromised, marriage and its quality, it is really seeing this particular sharp rise on the graph quality wise, you see. So basically it is a very good placement if you are Saturnish enough to handle this particular situation, particular placement. If you are not, then is when you will face problems in your life. The other thing is that with this particular placement, it is very important for you to constantly read, listen or be engaged in whatever religion you believe in or in whatever philosophy you believe in. What I am trying to say here is that even if you are an atheist and you do not follow any religion, but you believe in the philosophy of nihilism, this is something which you should be regularly attached to. You should be constantly reading about it, learning about it, listening about it, and you should be connected with your religion or with the philosophy in whatever you believe in. The other thing is with this particular position of the 11th lord in the 9th house, that respecting university education, your teachers and the global precepts like our sustainable development goals, this is very important actually for you individuals. Like even if you are living in India and it is very difficult to follow the SDG because of the pollution and everything which is happening, but still you should be focusing on it, even if specifically if you are related to teaching settings. So if you are a teacher or if you are a professor, you should be somehow focusing your studies or basic teaching towards all of these issues. like universal concept, like earth is a universal village, global village. This is something which you should strongly believe in. It is very important for your gains. The other thing is that when you have 11th lord in the 9th house, respecting your university education, that is your post graduation, is very important. Like I have seen people telling me that I did my masters from this and this university and I did a lot of hard work and it was all useless. This is something which you should not say, because the 9th house represents the university education, the post graduation, and your 11th lord is sitting there, so it demands energy from that particular house. So you should be very you should be very happy about this fact that you completed your masters or you completed your post graduation from this and this university in this and this course. So this is something as a particular belief which you should carry in your personality. The other thing is that university education becomes very important. If you are attached with it somehow, maybe joining an NGO or something like that, it would also fetch you gains. So if you are not into religion or any philosophy, you are not a staunch supporter of any philosophy or any religion, what you can do is you can join any university or any NGO which connects people based on the graduation or post graduation courses or something like that. Like you should be working towards the universal concept of the planet Earth. The other thing is that with this particular placement of the 11th lord in the 9th house, actually I have seen a lot of people in my readings with this particular placement that they had this habit of judging people based on their beliefs, their philosophy, their hopes, wishes and desires, specifically if they were tamasic. You see, and actually it was a specific position which is associated with this particular my statement, but I won't be telling you here. Basically what it suggests is that you cannot and you should never do it, judging people or letting them down, or basically you are not even engaging with them on that particular note and you are conversing with them normally, but at somewhere at the back of your mind you believe that they are very tamasic people and I am somewhat superior than these people. You think of belittling them even if you are not doing it. That is something which would badly affect your 11th house, your gains, rewards and recognition. It is very important for you to, as I told you, work on the universal principle of equality, that everyone is equal, even if they are having tamasic desires, even if they are having tamasic wishes or hopes. This is something which you should totally mitigate in your life, and it might be challenging for you. You will have to follow this particular remedy. It is actually a remedy which you can do to boost your 11th house, to make your 11th house more healthy. So this is how you decode the placement of the 11th lord in the 9th house. Let's move forward. Let's understand the placement of the 11th lord in the 10th house of your D1 chart. Now if you have particularly your 11th lord placed in the 10th house of your D1 chart, the first and the foremost thing which you have to be very careful of is your visibility. And in what terms? The visibility in terms that if you are into profession where the relationship building is very important and you have to attend the parties which are being thrown by your colleagues, so your bosses, and you have to go at, like, you have to be present in their life apart from your workplace. There is where you should be very selective. You have to judge your visibility, like the people connected from your workplace and specifically your workplace also. Like volunteering with this particular position is somewhat you should be judging it extremely, that will this particular project would fetch me gains or not, and if not, you should not volunteer for any project by yourself. If your boss is telling you, then that's fine. The other thing is that you going into parties thrown by your colleagues or your bosses every time, it would badly affect your gains. You should be judging it, where I have to go and where not. You see, what I am telling you here is that maintain as much as formal relation you can with your workplace people. This is what I am suggesting you here. As long as you will become less formal with them, it will badly affect your 11th house. And I am telling you this as long as you do not have Parivartan Rajyog between the 11th lord and the 10th lord. then the visibility and the question of visibility would be judged from a different perspective. But for this particular placement, the visibility should be less. And even if you are trying to go at some place, you should have to be sure about this particular thing, that your personality and your projection is being represented as a very respectable person, that he or she is the person who is very respected in our workplace. They, the guru, mentor, or this kind of a personality, or a top executive kind of a personality is something which you should portray, even if you are in junior roles in your workplace. You see, like, you should represent extremely Saturnish quality in your visibility with this particular placement, that this is the person who is all work, and they are dead serious about their work, and I really like this thing about them. This is the introduction which your boss should give to any of his colleagues or something like that, their relatives. This is something which you should be chasing in your life. If you have to make your 11th house healthy, if you have to work towards your gains, towards your rewards and recognition, this is very important. As formal as you will be, it would be better for you. The other thing is that whenever the 11th lord is sitting in the 10th house, imagination, intuition, dreams, and all of the things you are feeling from your subconscious mind, like a hunch, they become very important. You see, if you are working on some project, and if you think that if you have this particular hunch that something is off, it would be off definitely. You'll have to be very subconsciously present in your work. Sometimes we see these vivid dreams that you are not able to interpret them as as soon as you wake up, but somehow they would be connecting in your workplace or your work front, or because with your 11th house, your gains, rewards and recognition later in your life. You will feel this kind of a pattern, you will see this kind of a pattern in your life, that the intuition, your subconscious, your hunches, your dreams, they become extremely important with this particular placement. The other thing is that this is a kind of a placement of reinvestment, because the 11th lord is sitting in the 10th house. So I have also seen this particular placement of businessmen who are gaining something, like they are earning some amount, and they are only taking out a very small chunk from that earning, and rest of the portion they are reinvesting in their business. This is a kind of a theme which unravels with this particular placement. And if I have to be very specific, should be checking the ages of 16 to 17 and the maturity ages of any other planet which is conjunct with this 11th lord in the 10th house in your D1 chart. What patterns did you see in those years in your life? That would be the pattern which would be something you will be witnessing in your gains, in your recognition, hopes, vision and desires. Like if you see that if your sun is sitting with this particular 11th lord in the 10th house, your whatever things happened when you were 21 to 22 years of age, similar kind of pattern is something which you will see in your gains or in your rewards or recognition every time you achieve something in your life. And even if you are in a corporate setting, or if you are a salaried person with this particular placement, what you should do is that you should take out a small chunk from your salary every month and give it back into charity to your workplace, like welfare funds or something like that. That is a remedy which would also help your 11th house to boost. Your gains would be boosted, your rewards, recognition would be boosted. Basically the inflow, the cash flow of the money would increase with a simple remedy. The placement of Jupiter in your D1 chart also becomes important with this particular placement of the 11th lord in the 10th house. Wherever the Jupiter is sitting, in whatever condition, in whatever nakshatra, in whatever sign, all of the so many things would be related to this Jupiter in your D1 chart. So check this Jupiter wherever it is sitting. It would give you more insights about your 11th house, about your gains, rewards and recognition. So let's move forward. Let's understand the placement of the 11th lord in the 11th house itself. So when you have your 11th lord placed in the 11th house itself, what you will see is that creating a like-minded community for you is very important. Like even if it is a digital community, or even if it is your friend circle, you should have that kind of a community of 8 to 10 people in your life. Like what I'm trying to suggest here is that simply you cannot have any friend of yours in your social circle who is supporting a different political party. You see, this is a kind of a thing which I'm trying to suggest here, that the foundation you connect with people should be same. Like, you people are, backbenchers, or you people are toppers in your class, or you people love astrology, or you people are in sports together. This is something which you have to focus on, so that you can make friends. When the 11th lord is in the 11th house itself, that diversifying your income streams is very important. Like, I'm not telling you here to do 10 different work. Like, you should be also in real estate, you should also be in digital affiliate marketing, you should also be in content creation. This is not something which I am suggesting here. I am telling you that you should only be doing one thing, but you should be invested in every, in every possible avenue, in every possible way out in the world today. You are invested in all the kinds of investing schemes today. This is something which is very important when the 11th lord is placed in the 11th house. You cannot simply earn and keep the amount in your bank account when the 11th lord is in the 11th house. The other thing is that with this placement, isolation or studying in isolation becomes very difficult. So if you are a person who is chasing competitive exams like UPSC or something like that, it won't be a viable option as long as you sit in an isolated setting and you study. Even if you are chasing UPSC or these kind of competitive exams and you require to study in isolation, what you should do is you should simultaneously do content creation, even if it is a faceless channel. Why? Because that would help you to build a community of like-minded people, and that would help to achieve gains, recognition and rewards in your life. You see, cracking a UPSC or any other competitive exam is also a gain of recognition or a reward. So this is something which is a remedy kind of a thing in your life. Without people, without the 11th house, without social media presence, without social like this friend circle of yours, you cannot survive in this world. You will not be able to get gains, rewards or recognition in your life. Also, with this particular placement, it is very important for you to constantly think out of the box in whatever thing, in whatever field you are in. Even if you are in a corporate setting, or even if you are in a government job, or you are in content creation or something like that, anything, whatever you are doing, thinking out of the box constantly is something which you should do, because without innovation is something which you will feel stagnant in your life. So if you have to move ahead, if you want to see the growth, the gains coming in and multiplying every day, you will have to do this, you'll have to inculcate this innovation in your life. The other thing with this placement is that there is two approaches which you can follow. These are two extremes. The first extreme is that you patiently and consistently do something, you follow something of a daily routine, you do hard work and you achieve something. The turtle-like pace is something which is either required. This is the one extreme. The other extreme with this particular placement is that you completely manifest as a maniac. You do not settle for anything less than what you have targeted, and you are chasing it, like a maniac in your life, that I want it, I want to achieve it. As long as I won't achieve it, I won't think of anything else in my life. These are the two extremes. You can take either of the approaches, whichever suits according to your lagna, your lagnesh, or wherever it is sitting, and all of the D1 chart, the whole working of the D1 chart. But in either way, you'll have to approach your targets in these two approaches only. Other than that, like constantly thinking about something and procrastinating, then you won't be able to achieve anything. Then you won't be able to get gains in your life, even the very normal ones. So when the 11th lord is placed in the 11th house, it's a kind of a blessing. But with the blessing comes responsibility. You will have to be responsible enough to convert this blessing into manifestation in your life. So this is how you decode the placement of the 11th lord in the 11th house. Let's move forward and let's understand the placement of the 11th lord in the 12th house of your D1 chart. Now, if you have your 11th lord placed in the 12th house of your D1 chart, what you will see is that isolation and comfort and working in invisible environments become very important for your workplace. So you see, this can also be a placement of working from home or working in some kind of a back-end activity. This can also mean that your income is invisible, like you earn from invisible sources. What I mean to say here is that maybe you are working here in India, but the company you are working in situated somewhere abroad, so it is completely invisible. So technically you are earning from a invisible company or something like that. The other thing is that when your 11th lord is placed in the 12th house, it can also be seen that somewhere or the other the expenses in your life would be very high. But if you work consistently, if you work with patience, and if you work in the correct manner, in whatever your 10th house is disposed as, you will see income of yours is also very high. So this is a kind of a lavish living placement, that you are earning well and you are spending well because you want to live lavishly and comfortably in your life. This is what it represents, the 11th lord in the 12th house. The other thing with this particular placement is that the passive income sources for others can actually become your active income sources. So you see, content creation or something like editing, or these kind of skills, AI can actually turn into active income sources in your life. Like they are the passive income sources for others, but for you it can convert into an active source. The other thing is that with this particular placement of the 11th lord in the 12th house, rather than intelligence, your attentiveness, your presence of mind, and your this particular vigilance is more required at your work front. So whatever profession you are into, or whatever is the source of your income, it requires attentiveness, it requires attention, and it requires presence of mind from your side. So it's not about intelligence, it's about figuring out the patterns in whatever area you are working in. The other thing is that you learn from all of these attentiveness in your life. So it can also represent whatever is the source of your income, it is more of a very experience based field or something like that. As more experience you will have, it would be getting better with time. If your Rahu in the chart is very well placed with this particular position, this can mean that you can earn from all the new age technologies or the streams of income which have developed recently with the coming of the internet, or with the coming of the YouTube or the internet revolution. So whenever the 11th lord is placed in 12th house, this can also mean that you are earning from the new age technologies in the world. So if the Rahu is not well placed, you can also be earning through the this particularly traditional means, that maybe you are a businessman or something like that. But you should convert into, you should have this digital presence of yours, so that it would give you boost in the 11th house, in your hopes, wishes and desires, your gains and rewards. The only remedy with this particular placement which you can do is that you should have a proper sleep cycle. As long as you will disturb your sleep cycle, your 12th house, your 11th house would be badly affected. You should regulate your expenses also with this particular placement. If your expenses are not regulated and you are very indisciplined in your expenses, or you can see that your 11th house is badly affected with this particular position. So the 12th house and the maintenance of expenses and your sleep cycle is very important with this particular position of the 11th lord in the 12th house. Also the Rahu's position is also important, but that is not for bettering the 11th house, it is for where to invest or where to look for in terms of earning, or in terms of getting better gains in your life. Rahu will tell you a lot about your gains, about your 11th house. So this is how you decode the placement of the 11th lord in the 12th house, and this was my understanding about the 11th lord placed in all the houses of your Devon chart. Please like this video and share it with your friends and family, and if you like the content, do not forget to subscribe Galactic Echoes Astrology. Thank you.